when I was a little boy, about 3 or 4 years old. I remember we took a trip to Arkansas, somewhere around Fayetteville, Arkansas, to see our aunts and uncles and cousins that lived there. And I remember going to see Uncle Roy Mangrum and his wife Maddie. Maddie was my mother's middle sister, and they live on, some mountain road there in Arkansas. And all I remember about that was we were leaving, and Roy picked me up in his arms, and I felt of his beard. And while I was feeling of his beard, he said, "Are you going to come back to see me?" And I said, "Well, I'll come back if you shave your beard." And he said, "Okay, that's a deal. I'll shave my beard and you can come back." And that's all I remember about him. He was kind of a dark-haired man, tan skin, like he'd worked outside a lot, kind of a wiry, muscular guy. And anyway, we went home, and about a week later, maybe 2 weeks later, he was roofing a house and had a heart attack and fell off the house and died. And I remember what a shock it was to everybody, because he was so strong and so healthy. And of course, that just threw his family into a tailspin, and they eventually had to move away from there. And they had two sons. I believe Ray was the oldest, and then Glenn, they called him Junior, but Glenn, and then they had two daughters. One was called Chalk, and the other one was called Teen. And Chalk married a guy named Dude, and Teen married a guy named Clarence, and they were quite characters. And it was Gene. The second son was Gene, and he was killed on a motorcycle when he was 15 years old, just right in front of Pleasant Valley Elementary School. And that night was Halloween night, and Jerry and I were out trick-or-treating. I remember all the flashing lights and ambulances, and we came around the corner, and there was blood running down in the gutter, and we didn't know what had happened until we got back home, and we saw an ambulance sitting out in front of Aunt Maddie's house, and we could hear her screaming, from the street. We could hear her screaming, "My baby, my baby." He had been riding on the back of a Cushman motorcycle with one of the neighbor guys, and a pickup truck had hit him from behind and killed him instantly. And, that was, I think that was the last time I ever went trick-or-treating. It just kind of took all the joy out of doing such things, because it always brought back that memory. But Uncle Roy, that memory just flashed into my mind just for no reason. So I thought I would just record it before I forgot about it and filed it away again. So there you have it. Bye-bye.